It has been one crazy week. It's early Saturday morning, and what do I think of to wind down? Make beer.
I got no money, like it or not, I'm funny. Still in searching of my destination. I like to party, living my way is arty. All I offer is my reputation. Hey, let's walk this way.
I'm on search for my house beer. We've already got one down. I tried a blonde ale first. It came out really good. It was definitely easy to make. It was definitely easy to drink. And most people enjoyed it. However, I feel I could maybe do a little bit better. And I owe it to myself to try out some more styles. So we are on beer number 2. One of the things I'm looking for in this house beer is I want it to be easy to make. So for this beer, I was actually planning on a different style, but I decided to go with something that I have ingredients for on hand, that I'll most likely have on hand all the time, so that if I have a busy week and I want to unwind and make a batch of beer, that I have these ingredients. So for this beer, I'm going with a pale ale. I went ahead and I ground the grains last night. And I got everything prepped and ready down here so that when I woke up I could just come down and start brewing. So for this one, my grain bill is 66% 2-row. I went ahead and I'm doing 26% of Golden Promise, and then the rest is going to be Crystal 40, which that's all the Crystal 40 that I had. So I might have actually put a little bit more Crystal 40 in it had I had more on hand, but I didn't, and it's still going to fit the bill for a pale ale. So that's the grain bill. Once again, for hops on this one, I'm going with things that I had on hand. So I happen to have a lot of Amarillo on hand, and I happen to have a lot of Centennial on hand. So I'm doing all Amarillo and Centennial. So I figured this morning I'd kind of go over my setup a little bit here for this beer. So I like to do things the day before, so it makes my brew day kind of go a little bit easier. So last night I weighed out all my grains, I crushed my grains, I set up everything I have here in the brewery, which is my garage. I weighed out my water additions, I got everything ready to go. Okay, so I wake up in the morning and I'm an early riser, so I come down, I've got everything going, I get my water going, I get my strike water warmed up. By the way, so in here I've got, you'll see my kettle right here. I did a little mod on my kettle and put a little insulation on, this cheap bubble wrap insulation I got off Amazon, and it works fantastically. It works really well. So this is actually one of 2 kettles I have. This is my smaller kettle. It is only 8 gallons, but for this batch, I've been making a lot of beer lately. I only have 5-gallon fermenters. That's 5 gallons total volume, free right now. So, and because I'm gonna do this one temperature fermentation, I gotta make sure that fermenter fits inside my little tiny refrigerator that I use for fermentation. So for this batch, I am using my 8-gallon. I'm only going to brew a 4-gallon batch, which should fit nicely in a 5-gallon fermenter, and that 5-gallon fermenter happens to fit in my small refrigerator that I use for fermentation. So anyway, I've got my kettle set up here, an 8-gallon. I do use propane, so that's why I'm out in the garage. I've got my propane burner. I've kind of got into the rhythm of things, so while things are mashing, what I usually do is, because I'm using a submersible pump to run my wort chiller, I do need to go get some ice. I find that really helps bring the temperature down quick. So usually what I do is, while I'm mashing, I make coffee and I go get ice. So I'll see you guys back here in a few. So there's about 10 minutes left in the boil. I've added my hop additions. So for this one, I did at 60 minutes, I did a 1/4 ounce of Centennial and Amarillo each. So a 1/4 ounce each at 60 minutes. And then I did the same exact thing at 30 minutes. And then as soon as it goes to Flameout, I'm gonna do my last addition, and I'll probably whirlpool it. I think I'm gonna do a whirlpool on this one and the same thing, 1/4 ounce of Amarillo and Centennial each. So I've got Whirlfloc in there, I added yeast nutrient, I've got my wort chiller in there, I'm all hooked up and ready to go. So this time what I'm gonna do is I've got it hooked up to my garden hose. It's a little cooler out today, so groundwater should bring it down to about 180 pretty quickly. And then I've got my submersible pump and ice water, and once I do my whirlpool after that, I'll rehook the hose up to the ice water to bring it down the rest of the way, hopefully bringing it down to about 70 degrees. And I'll pitch my yeast and put it in my temperature controlled fermentation little refrigerator, and I'm going to ferment this one at 68 degrees. So I figure if I get it to 70 degrees, it'll get down pretty quickly. I've also been concerned with water wastage too. So what I do is anything that's dirty, I've got that first bit of water that's going to come out of my wort chiller is going to be really hot. So I'm going to use that to wash my grain bag and the buckets that I used, and anything else that's dirty, I'll reuse that hot water to help wash it off. Wort is chilling. It drops really quick with the groundwater temp down to 180, and then I stopped and I switched over to my bucket of ice recirculation. I still even have some ice in there. The wort is at about 110, a little over 110. You can see my crooked thermometer there. Anyway, and this is just I think it's just a 25 foot. I got this wort chiller as a hand-me-down, so that is one thing that I would like to maybe spend a little bit more money on. I've got my eye on one of those jaded, I think it's the Hydra. That thing looks pretty cool, because this is the one part of my brew day that I wish went a little bit faster. We're at 110 now. To get it down to pitching temps is probably gonna be another 20-25 minutes, so. Brew day is done. Final, my starting gravity, so the original gravity ended up hitting 1055, which is a couple points higher than it was supposed to be. Now all there is to do is clean out. All right, so as you can see, brew day is basically complete. Garage is clean, ready to go. It is 9:18. So the only thing really to report about that maybe didn't go quite as planned was I forgot to take my yeast out of the fridge and warm it up. But I'm using S-05, the Safale dry yeast. So I'm thinking I pulled it out maybe and let it sit for about 15 minutes out at room temp. And then I did pitch it at about 72 degrees, and I'm gonna try fermenting this one at 68. So I'm hoping that doesn't cause too much of an issue and I don't shock it too much. But we'll see how it goes. I'll let you know.